Welcome to Southeastern 16 presented by FanDuel. Chris Lee joined by Brian Edwards here to preview Florida's road trip to Ole Miss. The Rebels, a 15.5-point home favorite per FanDuel on Tuesday morning with a 53.5-point over-under. Kickoff 6 Central on ESPN. We will fill you in on all the details you need to know for the game, give you our predictions. Before we do that, we always start by thanking our friends at GameTime SIDEKICKS who make these wonderful tumblers from which I drink every day. GameTime SIDEKICKS is officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. All SEC schools, 350 other universities. Stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups, SE16. Get you 20% off your entire order at GameTimeSidekicks.com. Brian Edwards, what a weird time for Florida and Ole Miss to be playing. Of course, everybody knows Florida's going all in to try to get Lane Kiffin, who's got ties to Florida as its head coach. Meanwhile, Lane Kiffin trying to get Ole Miss to the playoff, which, barring an unexpected collapse, is going to happen. You have that dynamic. On the other hand, you have the Florida Gators, which were an absolute train wreck last week in Lexington in the cold, where, hey, at least it won't be as cold on Saturday, but it feels like this team has mailed it in. DJ Lagway got benched. Look, if Florida shows up, we know the Gators can be trouble. Texas found that out. The question I have before we hit anything is, does Florida even show up with the mind to play this game?
That's a great question. I mean, you've got a lame duck coaching staff. You've got guys that many are probably hitting the portal. Many don't know if they're going to be welcomed back under the next regime. Effort was not an issue in Jacksonville. It certainly was last week. It's a back-to-back road situation. Billy Gonzalez, the interim coach, was non-committal on whether DJ Lagway would start after the game Saturday. If he made any remarks yesterday, they didn't make national news in terms of their relevance. I think if it would have been DJ, is going to start or definitely not going to start, I think that would have been out there. So I think that's still debatable. And Chris, how about this? How many times do you think Ole Miss has left Oxford since week 2?
A couple.
Once. No, I'm sorry.
Twice.
Georgia and Oklahoma. My mistake. So, okay. But the point being, Florida is traveling, even though Jacksonville is just an hour and a half bus ride. Florida has to travel for the third week in a row. Ole Miss has been home. October 25th, they went to Oklahoma. So that's the background. And, I think it's anybody's guess whether Florida's going to show up or not.
Well, let's talk about what we know. Ole Miss is going to show up and be ready because it has everything to play for. A first trip to the college football playoff for the Rebels on the line. All Ole Miss has to do is take care of this one. And maybe you take care of this one and you're in, although I think you lose at Mississippi State with some of the playoff nuttiness. You have a little bit of an uneasy sleep going into selection day. But, hey, win this one. You're in a great spot to get there, I think, either way. And there's no reason why Ole Miss won't show up to play. I mean, last week it did not lay down against the Citadel, outgained the Citadel 603-106 in a 49-0 shutout. The offense has been pretty consistent. Ole Miss is a dual threat team. And on top of that, the defense has been playing pretty well. I know the offenses it's played haven't been great recently in some ways, but yards per play, Ole Miss has given up the last 5 weeks. Washington State 6.5, Georgia 6.4, Oklahoma 6 flat, South Carolina 3.7, Citadel 2.1. Now, again, in a lot of cases, the schedule has gotten easier, but the Ole Miss defense has kind of quietly gotten a little bit better the last few weeks, and the offense has been pretty consistent in terms of its ability to move the ball, rushing and passing. Rushing offense has varied at times. They've struggled against some elite run defenses, but I think everything lines up here in terms of the matchup for Ole Miss offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and maybe Florida's defense, maybe it's running out of gas. I mean, it kept them in games certainly earlier in the year, but now when you look at Florida's defense statistically, they are not very good right now. 89th out of 136 FBS teams in total defense, 95th versus the pass, 76th in scoring D, 77 against the run. Florida's got a lot of injuries. They announced Eugene Wilson's now out for the season. He was surprisingly out last week after he had 9 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown, a little breakout game against Georgia, and then you lose him. And look, we're watching it on TV. I don't know if Vernell Brown was open last week. I don't know if his shoulder injury is still bothering him, but he only got 3 targets and 1 catch. I mean, he's been Florida's go-to guy all year, basically double the statistics of the second best receiver. And the defense has got some injuries now, and the defense did not play well last week either. In terms of the spread, it being 15.5, I think it's relevant to point out that Ole Miss has only won by more than 15.5 in SEC play once this year, a 16-point win over South Carolina. As for Florida, it has been beaten by 16 or more 3 times. That would be at Miami, at A&M by 17, and obviously last week. But I will point out Florida, their last 5 times as a double-digit underdog, are 4-1 against the spread with 1 outright win. As far as the head-to-head rivalry, they don't play very often, but Florida has won 3 in a row. They won last year, at the Swamp, and that gives Ole Miss revenge motivation. In 2020, the COVID year, Florida won in Oxford 51-35. And in 2015, right when Ole Miss was fresh off win at Alabama and were ranked 3rd in the nation, Florida crushed them 38-10. And Schwag Kelly had to get a touchdown pass in the last minute and a half to make it 38-10. It was actually worse than that. The last win for Ole Miss against Florida, the 08 Tebow speech game, 31-30 in the Swamp.
Is any of that relevant in this game?
Not at all.
That's the question I have. I mean, usually it would be. Look, I'm trying to find a path for Florida. The defense has been pretty predictable. Last 5 games, they've given up between 5.3 and 6.1 a play. So you kind of know what you're going to get, but do you now? After last week with the questions about health, the offense has been completely hit and miss. You go back to the Miami game, they score 7 points, 2.7 yards a play. The next game they come out and they beat Texas with 29 points, 7 flat a play. Look, a couple of weeks ago, they had a bye week, but then they didn't really show up offensively for the Georgia game. I mean, I guess they did enough to be in the game, but the numbers weren't great. 281 yards of total offense, then 247 against a very pedestrian Kentucky defense last week. I guess there's a scenario where the defense holds Florida in it, but are the Gators interested enough and healthy enough to do it?
Right. I mean, you would think maybe there would have been, if some of these results had gone a little better the last few weeks, you would think that maybe there'd be motivation from the skill guys like Lagway and Eugene Wilson and Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown. All right, let's impress Kiffin because he might be our next coach. But now we're in a situation where is Lagway going to be at Florida next year?
Yeah.
It's up in the air whether anybody's going to be at Florida next year. So I just don't even think that's even motivation to impress Kiffin or to beat Kiffin and keep them potentially out of the playoff and make it an easier scenario for Florida to get him. I think all that's out the window now.
Yeah. Well, let's just get into predictions.
Yep.
Who are you taking and why? We'll do over under in a separate segment. Let's just talk about who's going to win and how much.
Ole Miss is going to win by double digits. Whether they cover or not, it'd be nice to know if Lagway or Tramel Jones is going to be starting. I mean, if it's a guy, his first career road start as a true freshman, that kind of makes it a little different. But, Ole Miss big. I don't know for sure whether they cover the 15.5, but, they win big.
Yeah, if Florida wins this game, I'd be shocked. I mean, in addition to everything else that you have in your favor as Ole Miss, you have this. Florida beat you last year and ruined your playoff dreams.
Yes.
You have motivation on your side. I mean, I think last week to me made a statement for Ole Miss because you played a team in the Citadel that's a triple option team. That's exactly the kind of team you don't want to play.
Right.
And it didn't make a statement in that Ole Miss won it big. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is that is a gut check focus game. That's one that the team could have halfway shown up for. Instead, no, they dominate the stat sheet. They get out early. And triple option teams are the teams that can gash you for big plays if you're not dialed in. Ole Miss answered the dial-in test a week ago, and you saw what happened. Florida decidedly did not answer the dial-in test a week ago. You see what happened. Again, the only thing I can point to is that Florida does have a little bit of history. You go back to the Texas game. They were 1-3 coming in, having lost to South Florida, LSU, Miami. Then they had the bye week and then upset Texas. So I'll give them that. But that was eons ago. That was an old coach ago. That's when you could still say, hey, look, if everything goes right, we can win some big games. Florida's got nothing to play for here except pride. And when half these guys are going to be in the portal or God knows what, does that even matter? It just feels like to me like a Florida an Ole Miss blowout here. Maybe one of these where it's, you're 10 minutes in and it's 21-0 already, but we'll see. I want to ask you more about your expectations on the total. Before we do that, reminder, we're brought to you by Yearly Company, a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built on tradition, designed for meeting. Each piece handcrafted from solid 14-karat gold and natural gemstones, made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom sized, so knowing your size is the most important first step before ordering. That's where the sizing kit comes in. Code SE16KIT, KIT, get you 100% off the sizing kit at checkout. Get ahead of Christmas rush, and thank us for that later. Also brought to you by ROKFORM, the world's strongest magnetic phone case, extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting, SEC 25, get you 25% off your entire order at ROKFORM. Get the phone case and the vent clip, and thank you for that later. That's for your car. You'll be very, very happy with that. All right, Brian, over under total here is 53.5. Where are we leaning?
The under is 6-3 overall for Florida. This is their third highest total. Totals are a wash for Ole Miss, 5 unders, 5 overs. This is their third lowest. I got to go under. There's no expectation for Florida offensively. No Eugene Wilson, no Dallas Wilson. Don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Ole Miss's D is playing pretty good. I got to go under.
I'm going under too. I mean, with Florida's offense just no showing and all those questions with key guys out, with your quarterback being benched, with it being so inconsistent, with Ole Miss getting better on defense. I mean, and hear me out. Let's say Lane Kiffin, I think he's probably still thinking about that job. My guess is he stays in Oxford, but that's just a guess more than anything. It is beating the tar out of Florida. First of all, you want to get your guys rested and not get anybody hurt. Second of all, is beating the tar out of Florida, does that go in your favor or go against you if you want the job? Do you want to show what you got, or do you want to embarrass the school that maybe is trying to hire you?
Yeah, he wants to embarrass them just so they offer me more money, buddy.
Yeah, maybe so. And I mean, I doubt that's going to be a factor much, but I'm looking for angles here. Yeah, and this game is so weird with what's happened at Florida. That's all I've got. All right. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it'll be under. I think Ole Miss jumps out big early, and the way their defense is played and the way Florida's offense is playing, I'm buying that. All right, we'll be here to talk about it later. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, enable your notifications. For Brian Edwards, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you. Thank you for watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.